Most people I talk to during NaNoWriMo feel like they're falling behind from day one. So here's what I did 5 years ago on my first NaNoWriMo to write my first novel when I couldn't even finish chapter 1 of a story before. Here's what I learned from that experience, and here's what I am going to do differently this year now that I'm writing something I intend to publish. 5 years ago, I was sick and tired of not finishing a single creative writing project, and I decided I was going to finish my first novel and I was going to do it during NaNoWriMo. Now, I was an English major in college with a creative writing emphasis, so I did some short stories back then, but I hadn't finished a single creative project since college. Hadn't gotten past chapter 1 on the longer stories that I would try to write. So I came up with a personal and achievable plan to get me to around 30,000 words in 1 month. That's not an entire novel, but it was enough to write all of the key action and dialogue scenes in the novel and really get the bones locked in place. So this plan had 2 phases. There was a very short preparation phase in which I decided on how much I thought I could reasonably do. And what I decided on is I would do a 1-hour session on average every day. And after some warm-ups, I realized I would shoot for 1,000 words per session, i.e. 30 1-hour sessions, 1,000 words each, 30,000 words, and that would get me to the majority of a novel. And now that was actually so achievable that I was able to work ahead, and I think I finished the 30,000 words in less than 30 days. I was pretty tired by the end, but that was so much more effective for me planning that out and seeing how much I could write and, figuring, allotting a acceptable amount of time than trying to do like 2 hours a day or something huge, getting overwhelmed and falling behind almost immediately. Now, the other piece of this preparation phase is I wrote out in advance 30 warm-ups so that each day before I would write, I would have a question to help me get in the zone of writing, which is a great ritual, and also just think more deeply through my story so that I understood the perspectives of my character better and got ideas for plot twists and things. So phase 2 was the writing session. I answered the warm-up question. I actually filmed myself doing it. You don't have to do it on camera. I like the idea. It is something that I could share with people in the future, and I will actually upload this to my channel as well so you can see it. But you could take a voice note on your phone. You could write it down. I think it is very helpful to actually or just, talk to the air. But I do think it is helpful to actually verbalize that rather than just think about it in your head. Some of the magic happens, as you know, as a writer, when you actually put things into words rather than leaving them fuzzy and in your head. The second part of that session was writing without distractions. I would do it after the kids were in bed, in some cases at like 5 a.m. in the morning, or when I knew my wife could have the children, so there would be no distractions and I could lock myself in the garage. So, but I gave myself 1 hour, no distractions, no phone, no nothing. And then afterwards, I did a review. Again, I filmed this. I think you could do your review however you want, with voice notes or writing it down. It is nice to capture it. But the things that I would focus on in my review were actually 100% just efficiency. How many words I could get down that day and what was slowing me down. I kind of trusted in the planning part and the question warm-up to help me think deeply through the story and improve the quality, but I didn't want to focus so much on trying to turn out a good story in my first draft, which is because it's okay for that to be rubbish. I just wanted to make sure that I finished it, which I think is the right emphasis for a first-time novel writing session. So I finished the novel. It was around 30,000 words, and that was not all of the scenes that needed to be done. I needed to add more description and more transitions between scenes, but it was enough to get pretty much all of the key action and dialogue scenes in there. So so that going back and editing it, it was actually a fairly quick process to go from 30,000 to 50,000-ish words. So if you would like those 30 warm-up questions, go ahead and check out the link below. You can sign up to my newsletter and get those 30 warm-up questions for free. Optionally, you can opt in to getting a daily NaNoWriMo video so you can write along with me. I'll have two. I'll actually be uploading my original NaNoWriMo videos every day. So for first-time novelists, that's perfect. And I will also be uploading the next day my live check-ins as I am writing a novella for this month that I intend to publish. So for people who are more focused on writing to publish, whether self-publishing or building up their own platform to get attention from more traditional publishers, then you might want to check out my second course. All of that is available. Go ahead and check out the newsletter link below. So what did I learn from my first NaNoWriMo writing session, or first novel, really? Well, one thing was write about something that matters to you. It was so much easier because I was taking an issue I'd thought about before and centering that as one of the main conflicts of my novel. So I'd been in education, and the idea that universities are getting more and more expensive, and especially there's a lot of for-profit private universities that I feel really take advantage of students. I actually took the magical college trope, but made it a abusive, bureaucratic, for-profit adventuring university. And taking that was something that I'd already been thinking about. And that made it a lot easier to write at high volumes during NaNoWriMo and to write consistently, not get blocked, etc. For momentum, I discovered early on that I would just have to stick to the most exciting scenes, the scenes I wanted to see next. That did mean I was leaving a gap between one scene and the next, how they got there. There needed to be a little bit more connective tissue. It also meant that I didn't focus a ton on description. I was really focused on the dialogue or the action, moving this forward. I really liked that method of writing. That's probably the biggest change from my failed attempts before to my novel writing. Is I always felt before like I had to write the next scene in sequence, but when I could skip ahead to, all right, she talks to this person, and then now there's some stuff she's gonna have to do, but like the next big exciting scene is this one. And I think also that made the novel, and I'm still editing this one, maybe I'll publish it someday, but that did make the novel slimmer, a faster read, less filler. For people who really like to slow down and get lost in creating a sense of place, maybe that's not the best tactic for you, but that was great for me, trying to write something that read quickly. Another thing that I found over time really slowed me down during my writing sessions was coming up with names and basic descriptions. So I didn't focus on like the most evocative poetic language or like the most conservative, sparse, Hemingway-ish language or whatever to create stuff. But I did need some description in there to just kind of keep things straight in my head and keep things consistent. And so having a couple lines of description and a name for characters that I was going to introduce and places that I was going to introduce was really helpful for me, just to keep things straight so I didn't have to pause a session and think about that. So that made a huge difference in my ability to get a high volume of words in per session consistently. Lastly, another thing that I learned was that actually treating the camera as my writing buddy was really helpful. It can be hard with work, with your day job, family, preparing for the holidays, all that going on top of additional writing, to be able to check in with another writing group. And so having some form of accountability, kind of like a faux writing partner, was really helpful for me with the camera. Now, you don't have to film yourself, and in fact, if you'd like, you can go sign up to the newsletter below and opt in to getting a video a day of my original novel writing sessions. That way, it's kind of like you have a writing buddy, but you can watch those videos whenever it works for you, so it's easier to fit it in your schedule. What's changing this year now that I have written a novel and I intend to not only finish this novel, but to publish and market this novel. Well, that intent to publish is one of the major changes, but to accommodate that, just like I did with the first time when I just wanted to be able to finish a novel and I needed to break that down a little bit, I'm making this project a little bit more approachable so I can publish and market it next year is my goal. And to do that, I am actually bringing this down to a novella length. I might not write 30,000 words straight. I might shoot for like around 20,000, write a little bit more slower and more strategically, and then do some editing, or like hit 20,000 and then do some editing during NaNoWriMo. So I might shift things up a little bit and to accelerate that process and make that a little bit easier by creating a shorter work. The other thing that's different is I'm planning on marketing this. So not only have I already done some audience research, and you can check out that video on my channel. I documented most of that with, trying to skip out some of the long, more boring parts, but I really show you a lot of my process as is, and so you can check out that audience research. I will be continuing to do marketing exercises once every week and publishing those videos so that you can get a more publication and marketing focused approach to writing your book. This does not mean write a terrible book or just write a generic book full of all the usual memes from your genre. I'm not telling you not to be creative or put yourself in this, but what I am trying to do for myself is create a book that is designed to appeal and designed to be read, as well as being something that is meaningful to me. So we'll see how well I pick that up. The first book is something I enjoy, and when I tell people the pitch, they do laugh at it, but I wrote that one mostly for me and still haven't published it. This is really different. I'm going to take a different approach rather than just how can I finish this? How is this designed to be read for other people? And another thing that's changed is just a fun new tool to try. So I mentioned in my video on outlining, which again, you can check out in my channel, one interesting outlining method comes from a tabletop RPG book that talks about story beats. Now, if you've heard about beat sheets, usually that is like an overall very high level very high level outline of your story, almost like the hero's journey, but just modernized or specialized for a particular genre. But Hamlet's Hit Points is kind of a different methodology, and you can dive into what those beats are, but they're a little bit more flexible. So these beats could describe an entire scene, they could describe the action within a scene, and how I'm going to use them is I am going to keep track of the beats that I have already written and try and set a goal of what types of beats I want to hit in my daily writing session. So if this is not your first novel, if you're looking to publish or looking to spice up your novel writing techniques and see how this whole Hamlet's Hit Points beat methodology works for me, then go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I will be doing a live check-in every night at 8:15 Central, so that is just the time that works for me, and I figure probably like a lot of other writers, you will be fitting in your writing time in the evening after other pursuits. But if you're not interested in following along live, you can also again check out the newsletter link below and opt in to the 2023 NaNoWriMo series. So you'll get my recorded videos the next day, and it will be like having your own virtual writing partner. I would love to hear any questions you have about my prep or suggestions you have from your own NaNoWriMo prep this year. So please comment down below and let's share our suggestions and help each other through this exciting month for writers. I'll see you tomorrow on the Ubiquitous Tavern.